Hey, it's Joe Farrow with Geek Toolkit, and today I'm going to talk about the 2019 Samsung The Frame TV. I want to talk about 10 things I wish I knew before I bought it. First thing I want to talk about is, what is it? I saw it at CES this year, and it's actually been around since 2017, but they've iterated each year and done a lot of amazing things. It's a TV designed to look like a piece of artwork hung on your wall. Now, there's some aesthetics things they did for that, and there's some technological things, which I'll talk about in a sec. But for the aesthetics, some of the things are, it has a magnetic frame. They call it frame that attaches to it. And I have the white one, but they also have woods. They have a black one. I think they have like an oak and a teak, like a dark and a light wood or something. But one of the media effects of that is just removes that black TV look. It's actually quite thick also. It's not designed to be a super thin TV on the wall. It's actually quite thick. It looks like a piece of artwork in that the sides go flush to the wall. The other thing is, it comes with a proprietary frame that's designed for the TV that mounts to the wall, and it mounts it flush. It also allows the TV to tilt down a little bit. So if you're having a little bit of a lower seating area, you can pull it out at the top and tilt it down. But mainly on the wall, it's designed to sit flush, just like your other artwork. And so it blends in quite well. The second thing I want to talk about is some of the cool technology. Because just having a TV on the wall flush doesn't make it look like artwork. There's other technology that they've added to really enhance this effect and also to be smart about it. One of them is what's called one wire. Now, one wire is actually on a lot of Samsung TVs. It's this wire right here on mine. I've got to hide it a bit better, but that wire carries power and video signals. It goes to another box that's down in this cabinet here. What that means is you don't have to worry about hooking like your TiVo or something up behind here or running big HDMI wires. This tiny wire does all of your video signaling for you. The other thing is, it carries power. So that goes to a box that you can hide somewhere, and then you can plug that into your power on your wall. That means behind here, I don't have to do anything weird like have a power box or run any kind of cables inside. All of that runs through this cable right here. Now, I know you're going to ask me, why am I not running this through the wall? It seems obvious. But the fact is, it's not in-wall rated. You'd have to run it through a conduit that's in-wall rated. And I wasn't aware of that when I bought it, so that's why I'm making the video, stuff like that. Another thing about the technology is, underneath here is actually an ambient light sensor and a motion sensor. And those make it very, very cool. Ambient light sensor is a type of sensor that takes the ambient light in the room and reports that to the system, which typically adjusts what's called the backlight of the screen. If you've ever had a cell phone kind of darkened in your hand and set to automatic, and you walk outside in the sun and you see it change, that's a ambient light sensor at work with a backlight sensor. The other sensor it has is a motion sensor. The motion sensor is very powerful because without it, this would be drawing power all the time to show this image at 65 inches, which is the size of this TV. That's quite a bit of power. You wouldn't want that going on for a long time if you weren't in the room. So the thing is, when I walk out, it power manages itself. I don't have to think about it, and I like that. It's a TV that not only hides itself, but also manages itself. Number 3 is it an OLED? And you know, when you research it, you'll find out it's a QLED. I was like, well, is QLED like Samsung's OLED? And turns out that QLED seems to be between the two. It's not the deep blacks of an OLED, but it's better brightness and has a lot of really good color depth. But your contrast isn't going to be as sharp. So if you have an OLED TV, you might think that looks a bit better based on certain scenes. The one thing I can say about QLED and LED technologies is they don't have any burn-in issues. My understanding is that OLED does. I'm not a TV display guy. This is just based on research I've done. It sounds like OLED has technologies to try to get around that now, but if you're going to have something designed to have a static display, it seems like an LED is just an easier way to go. The fourth thing I want to talk about is the One Connect box. I didn't really understand this concept. I'd never had a Samsung TV before. I guess this is general with Samsung TVs, but it's really important on this one. Like I said, you don't put any HDMI cables behind this thing or power cables. This one cable goes to a box called the One Connect box. That box on the back of it has a power cable, network port, optical audio, but it also has 4 HDMI ports for inputs. And then it has 3 USB ports for inputs. Now it's really cool because the USB ports can do anything from hold thumb drives with artwork or videos, but also you can plug in an Xbox controller or basically a USB controller I'll talk about that and why you would do that in a bit. That wire that goes between this and the box is 16 feet. You can't really make it longer or shorter. So you kind of have to run that wire and hide it somewhere. The other thing about that wire is you can't bend it very sharply. I think they call it a 4-inch radius is the most you can bend it. So even on here, I've kind of got it like cornered very gently, because if you bend it too hard, you've got a ton of tiny wires in there. And if any of them break, you're going to lose power, or it's just going to be a mess. It's also not in-wall rated, which I think I mentioned at the intro here. You can run it through in-wall conduit. Now this was very confusing for me because every time I researched on if I can run that in the wall, I'd get two different answers. Here's what happened. In 2017, from what I can tell, they didn't have power going through that cable, and they were able to run it in-wall, consider it in-wall rated. But now in 2019, it's not in-wall rated. The other reason that's important is if you go to buy this cable online, there's two things. One is you might find an in-wall rated that looks like a replacement for this. It might only be for the 2017 model. The other thing to know about this cable is if you need more than 16 feet, you can't really extend it. You have to buy a longer cable. There's not like an adapter or anything that I can find for it. The longer cable is $300. One other quick note, the One Connect box does not have the IR receiver. So if you put that and hide it away somewhere, you're okay. The IR receiver is actually on the frame of the TV. The next thing I want to talk about is gaming. This thing has an app for Steam built in. There's a Steam Link app that you can get from their app store. When you launch Steam Link, you can add PCs. I'm going to connect to my PC upstairs. And there's my basically Steam UI. Now there's no dongle or anything other than the controller dongle in the device. It's just software built in. Next thing I want to talk about is some of the things I wish I knew when I was installing this TV. We had some problems with our TV. The board was bad on the one that we bought, and we had to have a repair person come out and fix it. Here's some things to know. It's a flush mount TV, and the serial number is on the back in a kind of hard to get to place. Number one thing when you get this TV, take a picture of the back immediately. Make sure you get the serial number. The serial number on the box and the serial number on the TV have one digit or letter that's different. And that's incredibly important because the first thing they ask you when you go to get help is what's your serial number. That being said, Samsung was great. They had somebody come out to take care of it, which I really appreciated. Another thing is it can tilt out a little bit, and they actually have things on it so that if you want it to have a little bit of a gap behind there, you can. That's useful if you have I have outlets behind here that come out a little bit. Another thing was, and I think I mentioned this a few times, but it's very important, this wire here is on either end. It's very big. It has very, very big plugs on it. And so if you're running it through conduit, be ready to run custom conduit for it. My existing HDMI conduit that I had running, it was, I don't know, maybe 3 inches, 3 inches. It was not big enough to run that cable through. That's why it's running on the outside right now. It does have speakers on it. They sound pretty good. It's good to know because I was wondering if I had a sound bar, how do you put a sound bar on here and make it not ruin the effect? And the speakers is just something to be aware of. Number 7, the thing I want to talk about is just money. How much did this cost? How much do accessories cost? And so on. The frame doesn't come with it. It's $50 to $200 based on the size. This is a 65 inch. I paid closer to the $200 for that. The TV itself, new, was $2,000. I got the 2019 model versus 2020. That was $2,000. It knocked it down to $1,300 because they were very, very aggressive on promoting them and clearancing out the old ones. The other prices to know, the artwork is $5 a month if you decide to get the subscription. It comes with 20 pieces of artwork. If you decide to buy a piece of artwork, they seem to be about $150 for the pieces of artwork. You can upload your own artwork, and I'll talk about that a bit later on. The other thing is if you're going to get audio upgrades for this, you probably don't want to get a sound bar to ruin the effects. So you're probably going to want to get in-wall speakers or in ceiling. And so you're talking, installation charges or work that you're going to have to do that. It's something to be aware of. The look really is a premium look. For a 4K 65-inch TV, I found them from as low as $700, maybe even lower. $1,200 for the Q60 equivalent of this. And so just to give you an idea of ranges, if I'm going to pay $2,000 for a TV versus $1,200, I'm paying for that look. Number 8, I want to talk about voice control. It's listed as working with Amazon's voice assistant and Google's voice assistant. It also has Bixby, which is its voice assistant. There's a lot of stuff I wish I knew before I got this around that. The Bixby voice assistant is a button on the remote that you press and you say Bixby and you can tell it whatever you want it to do. The thing about that is you can launch apps, you can control your home automation, you can ask it the weather, like that is their voice assistant. If I control it via Amazon's ecosystem or Google's ecosystem, I'm trying really hard not to say the names of them and set off yours, then what happens is I can do things like turn it on and off. I can set the volume up and down and the channel up and down, but there's not a lot of control for it. It's very basic TV controls and not the in the depth of control. It said that I can't search inside of applications in some of the reviews, and I found that to be true in Netflix, though on YouTube I have been able to search. One thing is you want to say search the app name for and then what you want to search for, you get a lot better results. Search YouTube for Weird Al. I want to talk about art mode. This is one of the reasons you buy this TV is art mode. So when I go to art mode, it's got one button that goes here. If I press and hold it, it can override it and turn it off. Art mode lets me choose between favorites. They have to be photos. I can't do video up here like I can with my Dynaframe system. This is some of the art that it comes with. And it's got a classic and a contemporary. These are part of the 20 that it comes with. And here are some of the photos I've uploaded. Now, if I mark them as favorites, what I can do is I can have them go on a rotation every hour, every 6 hours, and so on. If I go up to matte, I can change what's called the matte on the outside, but only if it's exactly a 16:9 photo. If it's not, then it removes some of these options, and there's no way to like crop it on the device. So if you're going to want to upload artwork, make sure you edit it on your PC or your phone before you put it up there. The other thing is you can put it on a thumb drive, plug it in, and get it onto the art mode here, or you can send it from the SmartThings app on your phone. This one's actually the correct resolution in 16:9, so I can choose mattes here, and I can change the color. Or I can do what's called a shadow box matte, which makes it look like the photo is actually up against the glass of the frame, which is kind of a cool effect. And that's what it looks like. Now this here, these shadows are actually part of the image. That's part of the effect. So it does do a drop shadow all the way around and makes it look very, very good. One other thing I thought was really nice is they have what's called a Trips effect, which is where you have 3 pictures here. It makes it look like a photo frame. This is great if you want to put photos up on there. You can do a photo as a full screen image, but also if you do this, it looks like you have a nice matte 3 photo thing. You can only do this again on the Samsung app, and you'd want to do it there because it does do effects to make the edges look a little bit cleaner, and again, it does the drop shadows on the edge. Number 9, I want to talk about SmartThings and home automation. It has the SmartThings app that you can put on here, and when you install a TV, you actually use the SmartThings app to configure it. SmartThings works with other Samsung products that are SmartThings compatible, which is most things nowadays that are made by Samsung, and it works with some third-party stuff. I found it interesting. It works with 2 robot vendors for like robot vacuums, but it doesn't work with iRobot. The reason I thought this was neat is I don't have a SmartThings hub, so this was all working through their cloud app, and the TV and the washer and dryer are talking to each other in the sense that when the dryer was done, it actually sent an alert to my TV and showed up saying that your dryer was done. I thought that was a really cool scenario I hadn't thought about if I was watching TV and drying my clothes to have an alert come up. I will explore this in future videos. I'll try to get this into Home Assistant. I'm sure I'll figure that out. And then what I'd like to do is really see like what kind of control scenes can I do. Now, if you have Philip Hue lighting or a lot of the what I call the AAA of home automation, it does support working with those. But if you don't, like for instance, my Roomba that it doesn't work with, I believe if I get a SmartThings hub, I can get that bridged. If you're already heavily invested in Samsung in your home, then this will fit into that ecosystem quite well. Okay, finally, the last thing I want to talk about, I can't really demo because I'm filming on my phone right now, but it has Miracast and Apple TV built in. What's cool about having Apple TV built in is if you have an iPhone, my wife and I did this tonight actually, she wanted to show me Easter pictures of my daughter. You have an iPhone, you can bring up the Apple TV app, and then you can just video screen share from your phone to the TV, and that's kind of a nice thing. Same with tablets and MacBooks, of course. So it does have that video sharing. If you have an Android or a Windows device, you can use Miracast and you can broadcast up to the TV. So it has all of those sharing options and wireless sharing features. I just think that's really cool. I have that scenario. I've always thought that like you're sitting down, you want to show photos to other people. Having them on a big, beautiful screen here is a great use of it. Thanks for watching. I guess the one thing I haven't talked about is the art mode really good enough to fool someone? And I'm filming this during the COVID thing. I've only had one other person really be able to see it because we're social distancing. So I don't know. But for me personally, I like the effect. It's good enough for me. I think if I look at it, I can tell it's a TV, or like if the lights are off or, you know, whatever, I can tell it's a TV. But other than that, it doesn't feel like a TV. It's not that big black dark rectangle on my wall when it's off. When it's in this art mode, it's just very, very pleasant. And what's typically showing pictures of my daughter and my family, and I really love that. Like if I'm doing dishes, and I look up and I see those pictures, I love that. It just kind of blends in with this wall, and it goes away, and it's not this big talking box at me or a black rectangle. So it's got that kind of in-between state that I appreciate. I hope this was helpful to you if you're looking for stuff in this TV. I know this isn't my normal video, but I'm kind of having fun with this channel at this point. You guys have been great, and I thought this was one of the geekiest things I had ever really played with. I just kept finding more and more things it did. I will look into the home automation options and see what else I can do. Probably look into the apps some. There's some apps I'd never heard of that might be really fun. So we'll take a look at those. Thanks for watching. I'm Joe Farah with Geek Toolkit. Until next time.